What is popping? It's 2024. We're gonna kick this. We're gonna kick this off right. We're gonna kick this year off right. 2024. I said I was gonna come back and drop a lot of free game. There's people that charge thousands and thousands of dollars for a lot of the things that I'm talking about, and a lot of things that I do. So I just want to, appreciate everybody kind of coming on and supporting the movement, whether you're here for music or, business or whatever the case may be. I'm going to start doing this a lot more often for sure. So we're going to kind of kick off the new year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. How are y'all doing? Good night. Good night. I'm working off two phones. I think it's Facebook on this one and then Instagram on that one. Facebook on this one and Instagram on that one. So I'm working on two different phones. But like I said, this year, I definitely want to be a lot more active. I definitely want to give back a lot more for sure. Appreciating all the support over the years, whether you're, like I said, supporting me for music or whether you're supporting me for business, whatever the case may be. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So since I am definitely coming, so I'm on Instagram on this side. I am definitely coming to Brazil as soon as possible. I promise you guys, I'm planning a Brazil tour for music. So I actually, you know what? That's a great topic. We're going to talk about what Mr. Dorsey stands for. That's really what we're going to talk about that. So yeah, I'm super excited for 2024. There's a lot of things happening this year for music, for business. There's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of major transitions. There's so much happening behind the scenes. So much happening behind the scenes that I cannot wait to share with you guys. I mean, there's so many huge business announcements. There's so many products that we're coming out with. There's so many services that we're coming out with. There's so much, free game. Like, a lot of what this is for is giving out free game. Like, I really want to be able to educate people and really give back, because I failed most of my life. And that's honestly what allows me to speak in this position, is just because I have failed so much. And so I failed so much over the years, but I kind of finally figured out what was working, right? And so you do enough of this consistent. The problem is that when people start facing some hardships or they start facing some issues, they start giving up. And so for me, I just realized that the hardship that I was going through was the blessing for somebody else. And that was the value that I always carried, right? And so that's really what 2024 is about. It's just kind of giving back. I've been more behind the scenes. I post a little bit about business here and there. I post a little bit about music here and there. But I'm not too vocal. I've been more behind the scenes. But this year, like I said, I really want to give back. Like I said, I'm working on Facebook over here. I'm working on Instagram over here. Over here on Instagram, they asked me when I'm dropping a new song. We actually have a song dropping this month, at the end of January. I'll be posting about that within the next couple days. That is the first release of 2024. And for 2024, just as a huge announcement, because I get a lot of support in Brazil, we're going to be dropping music every single month. So I'm going to be dropping at least one song every single month. And I'm also doing a lot of features for 2024. So there may be some months where I'm dropping multiple tracks. But for 2024, we're dropping at least one track. We've got a lot of marketing budgets behind what we're doing. So we're going to do a lot of visuals, a lot of music videos, a lot of things like that, right? So really quick, kind of giving everybody a chance to tune in and just kind of give you guys an idea of what I have going on, right? So the first thing is Mr. Dorsey, right? Some of you may know me from music. Some people may be tuning in and they've kind of watched various parts of the journey. But I kind of want to introduce everyone to who Mr. Dorsey is and what I represent and everything that I talk about, right? So over here, it's pretty much two things. When you see Mr. Dorsey, the brand represents independence, right? It's more when you're put that Mr. Dorsey on And when you see Mr. Dorsey, you relate to somebody who has been through some trials, you've been through some tribulations, but ultimately you're relentless. You are relentless in your pursuit of growth, no matter what happens to you. And ultimately, no matter what area you are in life, no matter where you are in your journey, you have to be relentless, and you have to have the attitude and understand that things are going to happen. But things don't happen to you, they happen for you, and they happen for you to elevate and grow to a better person. So ultimately, when somebody sees Mr. Dorsey, that represents a relentless attitude, right? An extreme determination to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. And a lot of people see my social media now, and they see the things that we're doing now, and they kind of think that like I had it easy, or, that kind of like things were just given to me. Or the most misunderstood part about me is that life was always like this, because the truth is life was not always like this. As I mentioned, I failed a tremendous amount. And because I failed so much, it allows me to give you guys a perspective and game, because I figured out what didn't work so that I could figure out what does work. So let's talk about what Mr. Dorsey, as what you guys can expect from me content wise, and kind of bringing the whole brand together. So in my brand, I combine music, right, plus business. Now, the reason a lot of people don't even understand how the two, music and business, tie together. So I started this, I've been on this entrepreneur journey since 2013. A lot of you guys may know me from business, or even know some of the music that we dropped previously. But since starting this movement, it was called Projects to Mansions. And the whole idea of Projects to Mansions was we started documenting where we were in our journey. And it was the start of our entrepreneur career. So it wasn't exactly the greatest, but it was a start. And at least we took the initiative. The movement for Projects to Mansions was ultimately, to sum it up, to come from the bottom and go to the top, right? It's witnessing somebody who is literally willing to put in the work, figuring it out as we go, and kind of implementing things and doing things consistently over a period of time. So we had Projects to Mansions, right? Now, Projects to Mansions was an entrepreneur movement. It was a business movement. It was about financial education. It was about starting your entrepreneur journey. It's about becoming your own boss, and ultimately figuring out how to build systems, and so many other things that have graduated along the way that we're going to speak a lot about. But Projects to Mansions, some of you know Projects to Mansions as music, but it started as a business movement. Now, over time, and this is going to all tie in together with the music and business, because I personally use music two ways. I use music as a form of therapy to share my stories, right? And I also use music as a form of marketing to let people know who I am and what I'm about. When you listen to my music, you're not going to hear mumbo jumbo. You're going to hear real stories. You're going to be able to see a progress. And a lot of times, if you really listen to my music, you can get a lot of free game about music, about life, right? About my perspectives. So let's tie into this. Music and business, and what Mr. Dorsey represents. Now, Projects to Mansions started out as an entrepreneur movement, and it eventually, because I've always understood how important marketing was, how the blessing is in people, and how if you want to get your message out, you have to resonate with certain people, right? You're not for everybody. I'm not for everybody, but I'm for certain people who my message resonates with. And I understood this. But remember, I've been doing this entrepreneur thing almost 10 years. So right now I'm currently 29 years old. I have to take you back so that you understand how the transition happened. So when I'm 19 years old and I've never been in business before, and I start promoting business, most of the people that I was around was my warm market, was my friends and my family. Now at 19 years old, most people aren't really, in simplicity, they just want to party. They don't really care about the business. They don't really care about for most people, right? They just want to have fun. They just want to party. They're not hearing about sales. They weren't hearing about network marketing. They weren't hearing about business. Shout out to Cedric over there on the Facebook side. Shout out to GMT. We've done a lot of great work together, and we're going to continue to do a lot of great work together in the future. But getting back to what I was saying, so me starting my entrepreneur career at 19 years old, a lot of people really weren't understanding when I was talking about business because they just didn't care. They wanted to have fun. They wanted to party, right? I was trying to educate. They just wanted entertainment. So what we did was we decided, and if you guys go to YouTube, you guys can check this out. It's on the Projects to Mansions YouTube. It's a funny video. It's a super funny video, so don't judge too hard because the way that I understood marketing was to get attention and bring awareness. So what we had, and I'll tell the full music story later, but what we did was we decided to make a song. Me and the Projects to Mansion team. Projects to Mansions was a collective entrepreneur group, but what we decided to do was make a song, and it was supposed to sound like a normal rap song. But when you play it, it was just kind of comedy. And you just got to go watch the video. So it was never really meant to take it serious in music. It was supposed to bring awareness to Projects to Mansions because I always understood that when you have marketing and you have attention, you can make a movement and move with people, right? So long story short, we do the music, we shoot the music video, we put some advertising behind it, and we get a couple 100,000 views right across all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at the time. I mean, we were using so many different platforms to promote the music. So because we did that, even though it was meant to be a joke, it actually brought a lot of buzz to our business. It brought a lot of attention to Projects to Mansions. But then an interesting thing happened was that business is about supply and demand. Marketing is about supply and demand, right? So people started believing that we were an actual music group. Even though it was just a joke, people were like, oh, I kind of like this. So then we started the transition. And so Projects to Mansions eventually became a music group, and we've done a lot of things. We've done tours through the Southeast. We've dropped, I don't even know how much music at this time. I mean, so much music between original music. We've shot our own original content. And we've done so many different things, right? So the whole thing that we started to transition at the time, so PTM really started taking off. This was like 2016, 2017. Now, we started to really understand how to start to make a transition. And what we were starting to in 2017 was what we started to dub as edutainment, right? It's education, but it's in an entertainment fashion, right? But the way that my bad, we got cut off for a second. So this transition happened over a period of time. Now, eventually what happened is whenever I was coming up with my name, because I knew that I was eventually going to talk about the music and I wanted brand identity, I wanted to have a name that had for Mr. Dorsey. And that's how Mr. Dorsey kind of came about for the music. Because when I was always as I conduct business, people don't call me BJ or, whatever. They don't call me by my first name. They call me Mr. Dorsey. So to make it congruent, Mr. Dorsey opened up into music and business. Now, getting back into how we got here a couple years ago, because of brand, because of marketing, because of understanding different messaging, PTM decided to go into a label. Now, this is where the transition, this is super, super important because this happening kind of ignites and starts the story of the transition to all the way to here. So before PTM, the Projects to Mansions, we call it PTM. Before PTM became a label, everything that we released in the whole brand recognition was solely on Projects to Mansions. It wasn't about me as an individual. It wasn't about Mr. Dorsey. Everybody or people knew who I was. If you knew Projects to Mansions, you knew Mr. Dorsey was simultaneous with the brand, but we also had Big Steel, we had Lil Mas, we had KEO, and we had Seven Figures. So all of our brands collectively were Projects to Mansions. Now, when we make the decision for marketing purposes and growth purposes for each individual artist, each individual brand, and Projects to Mansions as a whole, we decided to split it and go to a label. Now, the importance of this is now all of us to transition to a label, we now get to promote our individual brands more. So you got to look at this more like the Avengers. So ultimately what's supposed to happen is that I build my own brand, KEO builds his own brand, Seven Figure builds his own brand, Big builds his own brand, Lil Moss builds their own brand. We collectively build our own individual platforms and our own individual audiences. And then when we combine together, we are one big power group. So that's how it was designed. But the importance of this is because in 2020, I'm going to be super transparent. In 2020, when Projects and Mansions started to transition to a label, at the time, I had felt like I was putting so much into a brand, and I felt like to start a Mr. Dorsey brand solo wasn't really where I wanted to go, right? And I'm thankful that all this happened now, but I'm letting you guys know how it happened at the time, what I was thinking, how I was feeling, and the thought process that was going through me, and then ultimately how we ended up here today and why I decided to continue to do music and intertwine the business. Now, the reason is because, shout out to Brianna over here, what's popping, what's good. Appreciate you tuning in. Now, the reason this is important is because when you're in music, there's two sides. There's music, that's the art, and then there's music, that's the business. And this is important because the reason that I do music is for therapy, right? It allows me to speak and have an outlet for the things that I'm going through, for the things that I'm dealing with, because I don't really like to talk to people and I don't really know how to talk to people, right? About like an emotional standpoint. But when I play music, it is a natural way for me to express who I am. Now, this is important because whenever Projects to Mansions was getting ready, had transitioned to a label and we were pushing individual brands, that meant that the roles that I needed to promote Mr. Dorsey were now solely on me and the team that I built to focus on Mr. Dorsey. Because you have to recognize, even though having a team of multiple people, 5, 6, multiple people can be phenomenal. It can be it can be great when you guys are all on the same page and you're all able to collectively come together and promote whatever that individual message or goal or mission or product or service that you're promoting. But when you're an individual, you now have to rebuild that team. And so at the time, I had felt like I had put so much into Projects to Mansions as a collective that there was no way that I really wanted to step back and pretty much restart this whole process as Mr. Dorsey. And the reason I talk about there's two sides to the music business, the music side and the business side, is because I was so focused on business and there were some situations I was going through, and so much of my focus and time and energy and resources and finances were going into making sure that was established and to making sure that at the time that I could make sure what I was focused on was successful. This is important because I felt like I had to make a decision. I felt like I had to make a decision between promoting music and building a business because, again, I'm transparent. I do music for therapy. It's amazing that I get to share my stories and my music with the world, and you appreciate it. But for me as an individual, as the person, I do music for therapy. So the most important part to me was, hey, I need to do music as a therapy, but I don't know if I can really put as much, because when you're an artist, first of all, when you're a business owner, you got to do a lot of work. When you're an artist, you got to do a lot of work. When you're a business owner and an artist, it's just, it's a whole different experience. It's a whole different process. And it takes a whole different level of discipline and allocation of resources, right? And so because of that, I didn't feel like, and when I personally do something, I have to put my all into it. And so when I was getting ready to, or contemplating launching Mr. Dorsey as an individual artist or as a business, I was going through some things, but ultimately it came to this. And there's a whole bunch of things that I don't want to take too long, but there's ultimately a process that came to, I'm going to get back to the basics and I'm going to use music as a form of marketing for the business and the brand. So the whole point I told you guys this whole story is to bring you guys the representation of what you can expect from me, the type of content that you can expect from me. So music content, that's of course. Now, a lot of times, unless you're connected with me directly on my social media platforms, you may or may not know me for business because a lot of my work has been behind the scenes. Now, first of all, let me say something. Just because you don't see someone not posting on social media does not mean they're not working. I want to be clear with that because in my perspective, in my observation, I've seen a lot of people think that the people with the most likes and the most clout and the most followers are the most valuable. And I'm just going to let you know that in my experience, that's not necessarily true. And some of the most powerful and most valuable relationships that I have, they don't even have a social media, or if they do, they don't have any followers now or much engagement. Now, I'm not saying that to say that, people on social media aren't legit. I'm just giving you an idea of the perspective, because a lot of what I'm going to transition is mindset. And we have to start transitioning to look at mindset and value as compared to, likes and, quote unquote, social proof and all of these clout things. Because when you start to look at value and when you start to look at relationships, you're starting to able to really see what really matters, right? And so the point of this is, I keep saying it, the reason I came back to social media is because I felt like it was my obligation to share perspectives, because the only reason I'm allowed to be here is because I failed my way here. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because you're going to hear a lot of different things. First of all, Brianna, good to see you as well too. I will let you know. I'm going to be back in Georgia at the end of this month, for a couple days. So, I'll let you know. We've been rocking for a minute. Like I said, I most definitely appreciate the support and everybody who's been rocking with me. And shout out to Brianna, because she's been rocking with me for a long time, since the beginning, of this music stuff. So the reason I get back to this is because Mr. Dorsey embodies both music and business. So for me, I want to have an open conversation, because with me, I want to talk about business, absolutely. But I want to talk about life. Like, there's life things, and you guys see me talk a lot about money and progression and investments and all these different things. And of course, we're going to talk about income. We're going to talk about building businesses. We're going to talk about building wealth. We're going to talk about personal credit, business credit, like so many things. And I'm telling you, the things that I'm going to give away are the things that some of these people charge thousands of dollars for access. And I'm going to give you guys that for free. The main reason is, and I'm going to be super transparent, you guys see me shout out God all the time. And there was a time in my life, as I mentioned over and over again, life wasn't always like this. And there was a time period in my life, really most of my life, but I didn't always think like this. And so there was a time period in my life where I was going through some challenges and I was going through some struggles, and I had to make a commitment. And sometimes when you're like down, like I said, when I'm going through struggles, I realize that the blessing is in the struggle, because I realize that I'm going through the struggle because I haven't learned something. But more importantly, God gives us experiences, or we go through experiences, because once we learn how to give it, or once we learn how to get through it, now we can give a ladder or a process to somebody else who is now going through that same exact process, right? And so I feel like, absolutely, I'm looking at shout out to Young Dane. Absolutely, it most definitely is needed, with independent artists. I mean, with so many different people, honestly. And the reason I talk about this is because mindset is so important. When you change your perspective, that's when miracles happen. Your whole life, your whole experience is based on the way that you perceive things and the way that you look about things. And so I'm going to talk a lot about life. I'm going to talk a lot about music. I'm going to talk a lot about business. I'm going to talk about a lot about investing. And I mean, pretty much any kind of topic that you guys want. If I have an experience on it or if I have knowledge on it, I'm going to talk about it. But the most important conversation that we have to begin with is, even without music and business, right? Give me 1 second. Because I talk about it a lot, and we're going to talk about it a lot as we go through this. And I want to make sure that you guys receive this message the right way. So, the number one thing of everything that you need to transition, right, is mindset. Mindset. Hope you guys can see that. Mindset and the way that you think, because the way that this framework is set up is going to set you up and give you the foundation to maneuver through any challenge or any task that you have. And so if you don't have the mindset, the proper mindset to receive the message and information that I'm giving, then it's not going to be as progressive as I would like it to be. And anytime I put my time into something, anytime that I do something, I put my all into it. It doesn't matter if I'm standing on live giving game for free. It doesn't matter if I'm your business partner. It doesn't matter if I'm in the gym. It doesn't matter, if I'm reading a book. It doesn't matter if I'm in the studio. Excuse me. Whatever I do, I give it my all. And so when I do something, I want to make sure that you guys receive and get the most value, and I can give the most value and contribution to you as possible. So the reason I'm saying this is because your mindset has to be right. Your mindset has to be in a position to receive the information that I'm giving. And I want to say that there are some things I'm going to let you guys know ahead of time. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to share my experiences, and I'm here to help. And when you're in a leadership position, or when you opt to go into a leadership position, you have to understand that you are there to help. You are not there to be liked. And even as an artist, I understand this because I'm here to give my stories and my message for me and the right people who understand the message that I'm giving. But I can only be me. There can only be one me who can do it like me. There can only be one you who can do it like you. And that's your uniqueness, and your separation from everybody else is just being you. But you also have to be honest with yourself. It's like a mirror. You got to be completely honest with yourself, because until you can be completely honest with yourself, you're not going to have any progress, and you really can't be honest with anybody else. It's like a lot of people talk about love, and we're just going to talk on this really quick. A lot of people talk about love, and they're looking for love from somebody else. But the mirror effect is, if you don't love yourself first, then you're always going to find faults in yourself, or you're going to find inadequate, or you're going to find reasons to doubt. And if you don't truly love yourself first, then nobody else can love you, because you won't open up, and you're looking for that validation in somebody else, which gets back to mindset. The first thing you have to understand, and the first thing that I understood for growth, is that the position I'm in at the current time is a sum of all the decisions that I've made before. And so even if you feel like it's somebody else's fault, stop. Just blame it on you. At least I can speak for myself. When I was going through things and I was always like, damn, I'm in this position because of so-and-so, or this situation, or if this situation didn't happen, and it's like, for whatever reason, I'm putting so much energy on what if didn't happen, that the minute that I said, okay, whatever is my fault, I started thinking about solutions. Okay, it's my fault. Now that I recognize it's my fault, how am I going to come up out of this situation? When you're thinking about why everybody else did a certain thing, then you're thinking about, well, why did they do this? Or how did they do this? Or how could they be that when I did this? And that's not what the conversation is about. It's about you and becoming the best version of you, which ultimately comes back into mindset. Because when you're the best version of you, then when you're the best version of you and you are you, then you start to attract the people who relate to you, which is ultimately how the music still ties into building Mr. Dorsey. Because I get to use the music. Like I said, I use it for therapy. So I get to use music for my own self, for my own value, and to release my message. Then other people listen to my music, right? And they understand, they get value from it. Some people are going through the same situations or their own trials, like in their own situations, but it's ultimately going to attract the people who relate to me. So now it's about building a community. You don't need the world, and you have to realize that everybody in the world is not going to like you. It's about building a community and a platform of people who do. And when you're always you, the wrong people are going to repel, right? They're going to naturally like, oh, I don't like him, or I don't like her, da-da-da-da-da. But the right people are going to start getting the message, and they're going to start tuning in. And as you start to tune in, as you start to build that community of people who support you, that's how you build a long-term legacy, and that's how you build your audience. But you have to realize that not everybody is for you. You're not meant to be liked by everybody. And the number one thought, or the number one realization of a leader, in my opinion, is to realize that you are doing the work that you do to help. You are not doing the work you do to be liked. Because a lot of times when you're doing the most valuable work, you may not even get the recognition for it. But you have to understand the value and the opportunity to change someone's life. So when I get the opportunity to change someone's life through business, whether it's, through a service, whether it's giving somebody some game and helping them build their business, or whether it's me literally being able to record and somebody listen to my music and be like, hey, your music helped me. And my bad, I got Facebook over here and I got Instagram over here. Josh, I'm seeing that. Yo, you got to send me that. I would definitely love to check that out. And see what you got going on, because I've been doing music for a while, but I used to download a lot of music off of Dat Piff. So anyways, getting back to what I was talking to, is that when you start to build a community and you start to build a community of those who support you and be yourself, it makes it much better, right? And you don't have to act. You don't have to act and try to be something you're not in order to be successful, whether, you're in music, whether you're in business, whether you're an artist or whatever you do, right? And so when you learn and when you start to understand about giving value, everybody perceives value differently. But when you start to set your brand and when you start to set your expectations and when you start to build your community, you get to dictate how that is perceived and the value that you give to people. And that's the most important part, because in order to be successful, somebody has to see you as valuable. And the easiest way that I can tell someone to be valuable is to be yourself. Because your uniqueness of who you are, just like I talked about earlier, nobody can be you the way that you can be you. And so when you are uniquely you, and you're going to naturally find the interest that you grow with are going to be valuable to somebody else. It's right. It's like, let me give you an example. Let me land this all the way home. Give me 1 second. So the reason I always talk about value, and this is why it's important, and this is probably the easiest scenario, and some of you may have seen this example before. It's been on the internet before. I did not come up with this naturally, but I've seen it before, and it relates a lot. So there's been a story or a meme that goes around social media, and it's always like, so there's this situation, they're working on some kind of boat or whatever they're kind of working on, right? And they're spending hours and they're having all these issues that they can't get their stuff secured properly, and all these issues are going on, and they spend some time going through it, and they're frustrated and they can't figure it out. So they call somebody, and he comes and he solves their issue. So he charges, in this example, let's say he charges $500 to solve their issue. Now, the people previously were spending, like I said, days and so much time trying to figure this situation out on their own. They paid this person $500 to come through, and they fixed it in 30 seconds. The reason this is important is because when you understand value and you get paid on your value and not on your time, most people would charge for the time. So they would say, hey, I'm going to charge for 30 seconds of my time because that's what I put into solving their issue. When you get paid on value, you get paid on the time that you invested to learn the skill set that you did. So if you completed a job in 30 seconds, you get compensated for the value of the years that it took you to figure that job out in 30 seconds. So the reason this is important is because everybody's value is differently. But when you want to become successful, the answer is within you. When you start to realize the opportunities and situations that you're going through, that the answer and the blessing is in the trials that you're going through and what interest you are. Because whatever interest you have and whatever you're an expert in, somebody else is looking for a way to follow what you have, right? And to learn how to do what you do and learn it from your perspective. So that is the most important thing, like I said, that I was really going to kind of touch base with tonight. Josh, like I said, I'm going to definitely have to check that out. I listen to all kind of music, so I definitely want to see what you have going on for sure. Like I said, tonight it was just kind of really an introduction to Mr. Dorsey, kind of how I got here, kind of what the brand with the music and the business, the combination of all of it. I am going to be doing this so eventually just to kind of give you give you guys a head up. So I've been behind the scenes for years. I kind of really didn't even really want to go to the internet. To be honest with you, I've just been very comfortable behind the scenes for so long. And I've just kind of been a person that, like, if you know me, you know, and like, if you don't, then like, well, your life will be a whole lot better when you know me. And that's just kind of how the way that I work. That's just the way that I work. But like I said, I'm someone who has strong faith. And when I was going through situations in my life, I promised God that once I got out of those situations, not if, it's a mindset change. So we don't say if, we speak it into existence. So at that point in time, I was letting God know that when I got out of the situation and when I built a platform and when I fully understood, I would come back and give game. And so because of that, like I said, the reason that I'm in position to even talk about the things that I'm talking about or the things that have brought me to the level of success that I have, I think it's a very minimal level of success, but I have a lot of value and where I can help somebody else elevate their life to another version of success. So again, the reason I'm even here is because I failed so much to figure out what not to do, which most importantly allows me to come back and teach you guys what to do and the mistakes to avoid. So that's kind of what this is about. Like I said, I want you guys to tune in. I am going to start doing this. I'm going to do this a couple times a month. A couple times a week. Probably two or three times a week at this point. I definitely am. Shout out to Sierra. We're going to definitely get on TikTok. Right now we got Instagram and Facebook on two different. We are going to transition heavily to YouTube. A lot of my content is going to be coming out on YouTube. We are going to be on TikTok. But right now I'm kind of building my team, like I said, for the social media aspect, for kind of bringing all of the messaging together. And kind of the beauty of this is you guys are watching me grow. Like, I've been behind the scenes for so long, and I've got a lot of experience, and I've got a lot of things to bring to the table. I've got a lot of resources. But as far as being on, my bad, it got paused. As far as bringing this online, you guys are literally about to witness the growth of kind of where this started and most importantly, the amount of lives that we changed. Because just to be honest with you, and this is just the way that I think and it's the way that I operate, I'm super thankful for everybody that rocks with me, but I don't do this social media for me. I'm coming back to do this for the people, right? The things that I'm talking about, the perspectives, the business, the game that I'm going to get about personal credit and business credit and establishing businesses and so many different things, like wealth strategies, income strategies, mergers and acquisitions. There's so many different things to talk about that I'm going to give out, and it's going to be for free. And the reason I'm doing that is because, like I said, I'm coming back to empower people. And the things that I'm going to talk about, there are people who charge thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. I'm not going to do that. I want you guys to come here. I want you guys to give game. I want you guys to be able to take this for yourself and implement it into your life and build your own community so that you can build your businesses and you can create higher income and you can create a better version of you. And for me, it's music. Like, I love music. I'm going to be here. Like, I'm here for life. I'm telling y'all, I appreciate the support. And it's the most amazing thing because eventually now I'm getting ready to where I want to chase my passion full time, where I want to be a full-time father. I want to be a full-time father, and I really want to transition in the process of transition to be an artist full-time. And I want to see everybody else do that because the passion that we have, even though some of the most important work we get paid for, whether it's personal development, like that's some of the most important work you can do. You don't get paid for that. You just gotta go in and spend the hours and the dedication to do the personal development. And that's work you don't get paid for. And the reason I'm saying this is because some of the most important work we do, we don't get immediately compensated for it. And so the reason that's important is because for me, like I said, my passion is music. Like, I love music. I love being able to tell my story. I love the fact that I get to, record in a studio, upload it, and that people literally all over the world get to listen to my music and support me. And the reason I'm saying that is because it helps people. I remember at times when my life, when I was down bad, and people, if you know me, one of my favorite artists is Kevin Gates. I spent years listening to Kevin Gates. When I was at my lowest points in my time period, I was bumping Kevin Gates. And I think that it's amazing because I get to share my passion, and the things that I was going through, somebody else gets to listen to and use it to their life. So again, I just want to say, whether you rock with me for music, whether you rock with me for business, whether you rock with me for whatever reason, or whether you're just now meeting me, I just want to let you guys know I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. It's been a long journey, and there's going to be so much to unfold on this. So I appreciate y'all, and I promise I'm going to talk to y'all soon. Let's